what is it that you don't notice the time passing when you're doing it? Or what are the things that when you apply yourself, you actually find joy in these things? And what are the things that are the opposite? You know, in my list of things that I'm responsible for, which of these things give me heartache when I think about it, or do I put off to the last minute because I really don't want to do it and end up maybe pushing it off until the deadline is today, and then I have to do all these things that I hate today, and really finding out what that looks like, and then delegating around you, because we all have different skill sets, we all play different roles, and ideally we're going to fit into that proper place on our team.
Welcome to the Coffee Experts Club, where we discuss all of the insights, expertise, and drama that goes into making your passion your profession. Our hosts, Aaron, Ben, and Drew, are three coffee experts who have taken their coffee experience and turned it into true expertise. They have consulted with major coffee brands throughout the United States and beyond, providing operations expertise and growth strategy for drive-through openings, multiple locations, and everything in between. So brew yourself a cup and hang out a bit with the Coffee Experts Club.
Yes, Coffee Experts Club. That's what we're here to do. Afternoon, boys. How are things today?
Good. Other day in paradise, back of a coffee shop.
Yes, back of a coffee shop, sitting in front of Chirani bottles. That's no big deal. That's what I do. Oh, man. Good to see you guys. Drew down in Belize, Ben holding it down in beautiful Eastern Washington, me here in Oregon. I will say that weather's changing this way, though, Ben. I'm not going to lie. It was cold and rainy for a set of weeks there, and I was just like, please, dear God, I just need to see the sun. And it's actually been pretty nice here. I don't know how Washington's been feeling.
Yeah, it's been nice. We're hitting we'll get our 4 weeks of spring, and then it'll be 105.
Yeah, right.
So it'll be great.
And Drew's just sweating. I feel like no matter when you tune in with Drew, Drew's just sweating. It's just like Belize. It's just like warm all the time.
I was gonna say that's me in Washington too, but I'm a little sweaty.
Only at 105, bro. Yeah. Sweating on the bend. You're gonna experience it though, right? We talked about it right before the show. You're hoping to get down there next month.
So I'm saying I'm trying to get down to paradise. We'll see. We'll see how I can get down there before the hurricanes hit.
That always makes it a little exciting. Drew is just putting up the storm shutters just in case, just to be ready.
Let's go.
Ready now.
Yeah. So anyway, guys, last week we had on the show Cody from Ethos. Cody's a good dude, man. What a good dude. I just feel like all the years we have with Cody and all the seasons we've seen Cody walk through of being a barista and then being a guy just maintaining the machines and then being the roaster at Roasters and the master roaster, and then going on in his career to become a master roaster for BlackRock, a pretty big entity, all to come to the spot of saying, you know what, I kind of miss, Eastern Oregon, or Eastern Washington, I kind of miss the Tri-City. So he bounced back and took over management at Ethos, which was so cool, a lot different than anything that we've actually interviewed on the show before, because they're a bakery first, then a coffee shop, whereas everybody else that we're used to interviewing is predominantly coffee. But I just like the dude. He's just such a funny, fun dude to talk to. We'll definitely have him back on the show, but something that he kicked off topic wise that I thought we could riff on a little bit today and take a deeper dive on was finding your lane. You know what I mean? Like finding the lane that's your brilliance, finding the lane that's your genius. And I think, sometimes the downside to working with smart people is we could do anything. What do you need me to do? What position do you need me to play? You know what I mean? And we're versatile and we can jump into that position, but that doesn't mean that we're equally good at everything that we do, or even that we equally enjoy everything that we do, And so I'd love for us to talk a little bit about diversity of gifts, diversity of talents, diversity of abilities, and finding your lane. Ben, you and I were on a call, an L10, level 10 meeting this afternoon, a little bit earlier. And we were talking about how there was a time when, as you were exiting coffee, you thought about going and working for a governmental office, taking a governmental position, and just how you've been wrestling with governmental positions this whole week, trying to get your passport across the finish line and little Aenea's passport across the finish line. And just like, you're like, dear God, I forgot the incompetency that lives within our governmental system. And then we said the funny talk about how, but you had considered it because it was just something stable and easy. And you felt like if they can do it, surely I can do it. But I think that you've just flourished, man, here at the Collab team. I mean, obviously we came out of Roasters together, and you out of managing 150 employees and 15 different locations and all these big things. And there's been a lot of shift, but what are your thoughts on finding your lane, man? I think that you've done some shifting through the last set of years. What's the brilliance you can bring to the company?
Yeah, I mean, I think it takes a lot of shifting to figure that out, or it takes you being in the spot long enough. personally, I mean, knowing Cody, we were together at Roasters for probably a good 5 years before I even left. Me and Cody go way back. I mean, he started as my barista. I hired him as a barista at my shop. Even watching Cody, like going from, even within Roasters, going from working on bar to working on machines to working, as delivery guy to roasting, like all of these things. You kind of have to try a bunch of different stuff before you realize like what you're good at. Um, and I think the same with me. You either do a lot of different things, or you do one thing for a long time and you go, all right, I'm ready to try something new. And you're like, oh man, I should probably try and do the things that I was doing for a long time because I don't know how to do anything else. Yeah, definitely staying in your lane or learning what your lane is, I mean, even what Cody was talking about last week, like he figured out, okay, these are the things I definitely don't like doing. These are the things I like doing. Along with the government job that I was thinking about coming out of Roasters, before Roasters, it's funny, I was like in college just picking things out of a hat, trying to figure out, what do I want to do with my life? I was like, I'll go into the radiology program, x-ray people's bones, which is a fantastic thing that I did not end up going into, because if I see a broken bone, I tend to pass out. And it was just like, it probably would have been a horrible lane for me to get into, to be trying to x-ray people and just fainting all the time because I can't see broken bones. But it takes a lot to, I think, figure out what that lane is that you're good at. It takes a lot of maturity, I think, too. But once you figure it out, then it's something you can really, really flourish at. I think that's what Cody has done, is he's figured out what his lane is, and I expect to see probably some really cool stuff from him.
Yeah. I think, the thing that really stuck out to me was he got to that place where he came to a spot of, I don't enjoy being up front. Like I don't enjoy running the front end of the shop, and how it was like this revelation of something needs to change, something, I can't keep doing it this way. And how he shifted to back end management, which is something we all knew Cody being good at for those years we knew Cody, and I think that it's really important, I think, to identify. So you can do a lot of things, but is that what you're best at? Is that what you're going to be good at? Is that where you're going to flourish? Because I think that when you're happiest doing the things that what you're doing, that's when everybody's going to benefit around you. You know what I mean? Like if you hate what you're doing, the energy you bring to it's going to be bad. Like you're not going to want to come to work. You're not going to want to work hard, And so, yeah, you could do it. But like EOS has that whole tool that they do called the delegate and elevate. And it's like, what can you delegate down and get off your plate to elevate you up to your highest place of brilliance? And I think that's really important to consider when you're thinking about what is it that I should be doing? And that should really fall into like, what do I enjoy most? Which I know, Drew, I feel like your sweet spot has always been people, like ethos. Like, how do we build teams? Maybe you can talk about that just a little bit, about finding your sweet spot and how you've gotten to that spot.
Sure. And I mean, like Ben said, it takes a lot of trial and error and really defining what that lane is. And service industry has always been something that I've enjoyed since I got into it, but I've had to define what that service industry really means and what service I really want to provide. Because I've thought, service industry as, the skills are translatable across different dimensions. That's not always the case. I took it's a serving job, serving tables, and it just was not my jam.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, you did. And man, there's a whole water story behind that one that we got to pull apart. It was amazing.
Sometime. Yeah. It didn't last long, needless to say. The service skills aren't translatable just because the environments aren't quite the same, even though the skills might, work across, each dimension. It's just not the same environment. You don't apply them the same way. And so defining, what that lane is that you really enjoy. And we always said, work yourself out of a job. And that's a healthy way to grow a team. That's a healthy way to be a good part of a team, is because everybody around you wants to learn and grow too. Hypothetically, in an ideal team, we want teams that want to grow. We don't want teams that are stagnant. We don't want people who are placeholders, and we don't want to be placeholders ourselves necessarily. And so applying that to where you're at today and how you can grow is what, like you said, what do you love doing? What is it that you don't notice the time passing when you're doing it? Or what are the things that when you apply yourself, you actually find joy in these things? And what are the things that are the opposite? In my list of things that I'm responsible for, which of these things give me heartache when I think about it? Or do I put off to the last minute because I really don't want to do it and end up maybe pushing it off until the deadline is today. And then I have to do all these things that I hate today, and really finding out what that looks like, and then delegating to the people around you, because we all have different skill sets. We all play different roles. And ideally, we're going to fit into that proper place on our team. So, I mean, I've loved growing teams and I love empowering people. And, you know, sometimes I empower the wrong people and sometimes I give the wrong person too much power or, you know, but that's all part of my learning curve as well, because I like to see the potential that everybody has. I like to see the skills that everybody has, but I don't know if they enjoy the things all the time. You know, they might tell me, "Oh, this is great, boss," because I'm the boss, you know, they're like, "This is great." And I love doing it, but they don't really love doing it. And so I try to give them more of that work and it ends up, you know, the opposite effect. So really developing the trust with your people has been key to me in growing teams, that they can be honest with me of the things that they don't like, because there's going to be somebody on the team who does like that thing that they don't like that I can then delegate that out to. Because chances are I don't like it either that, or I have 100 other things that I'm responsible for that I can't necessarily, you know, take on that thing that they're not, you know, but then when I remove that from their plate, I can then delegate something else to them. So, you know, learning what people are good at and then seeing through it when they're actually not enjoying it, you know, and it takes 10 times as long as it should, or the work is sloppy and then you critique, you know, all these different ways to find out the sweet spot for the people. And it's the same journey we all had. You know, if you put yourself in uncomfortable situations often enough, you're going to find out which ones are actually your jam and which ones you should probably steer clear. For me, it was serving tables. I love that.
I think that's super applicable for any new, I think that's something that any new coffee shop owner should always have in the back of their mind, because anybody's opening a new coffee shop is not good at everything. Guaranteed.
That's right.
It's 100% you're not good at everything. You're not going to be a great barista, account holder. You're not going to be a great vendor communicator. You're not going to be the best, you know, person to run your book. But you start out because you have to do that. So every person who's starting their coffee shop has to do it all. But if you can really quickly identify or even know going into it, like, okay, these are the things I suck at, and I should probably hire somebody to do, you know, thing A, B, and C as quickly as possible. Like, that's a great revelation to have, or something in your back pocket to have going into starting a new shop. Because so many owners are like, oh, I'll just do everything. I got to save on payroll. I'll just do everything for years and years and years. I mean, those are the shops that, you know, 15 years in, they've opened one other location because they just can't let go. So like, I have to do everything.
Thinking about my friends, Indie Coffee Coalition, just thinking about the hundreds of thousands of dollars we've saved coffee shop owners just like you, who are not franchisees, who are looking for deals on their fat mix and their energy drinks. Why should the franchises get all the deals, right? Indie Coffee Coalition was built with the idea of saving you, the little guy, tons of cash. So if you're a coffee shop owner, you have 1 to 3 coffee shops, and you're serving blended drinks or energy drinks, we can substantially save you money and keep more money in your pocket. Set up a call. I'd love to talk with you. Indie Coffee Coalition, keeping money in your pocket.
We would say that all the time, right? Like, roll up on these old salty dog like coffee shops that were mom and pops owned, and it's like the gift that Wes had, and the curse, was that he wouldn't stay content with what he had. Like, he wouldn't stay content with where he was at. Like, he always wanted to push, always wanted to push, always wanted to push. So, I mean, 9 years in, you know, he's got 15, 16 locations plus a roastery to show for it. Whereas we would roll up on other brands. I know other brands even that were interested in roasters at the time for the acquisition, who were at 3 or 4 brands, and they'd been around, you know, equally as long, if not longer. So I think that what we found with Wes was, let's try and keep him in his lane, where Wes is always thinking about acquisition. Like, where's the new piece of property? What's the ingress egress? Like, what's the traffic count? That was Wes's jam. And he lit up when he talked about it. He loved finding it. He loved finding new spots. He loved vetting new spots. And like, if he could just stay in that spot, he was great. But when he wandered into other spots, it got messy really fast, because like, now wasn't his sweet spot. But I think that the cool thing about Wes, and when he was traveling in his brilliance, was he let Ben carve out ops. You know what I mean? I think that, and I think that Ben held ops so much better than Wes ever could, because that's not what his jam was. That stuff overwhelmed him. He did not like the minutia. He did not want to be stuck in it. But I think sometimes we can almost become like that selfless martyr syndrome, where we're like, no, I'll just muscle this out. No, I'll just take one for the team. No, I'll just do it. But what you don't realize is, by you doing that, you're probably not doing everything great, because you can't be great at everything. Yep. And there's somebody that really is awesome at that thing that you're kind of mediocre at, that is looking for that opportunity, that if you would just afford them the opportunity, they're going to take it to the moon, and you can travel in your own lane, which is going to reduce your stress, and you're going to flourish on your side of the thing that you jam at. So I think it's coming to the realization of, A, you probably do need to spend some money on that. You know, like, it's time. You've probably outgrown that. And B, look for somebody that's good at things that you're not good at. Don't only hire people that are just like you. Find people that are different than you and let them find their flourishing spot and let them grow too.
Yeah, the last thing you want to do as a new coffee shop owner is hire another guy who's like a super hype guy that's like, I just want to sell coffee, because that guy is just a copy of you. What you need is like a quiet, nerdy kid who at some point you can get to the point where he's doing your books and loves just spending 6 hours a day sitting on the computer doing your books. So you don't have to.
Yeah. Or a mechanical kid that enjoys like taking apart all your machines, because man, let me tell you what, poor Drew has become the tech of all techs down in Belize. I don't think because Drew wanted to. I just think that he had to because he was in Belize and who else knows as much as him. But I think that he's done a great job at investing into a couple of the managers, one at the location in San Ignacio, one in the location in San Pedro, and affording them the opportunities of when the machine breaks down, letting them troubleshoot, and they're handy. And man, let's try and give them those skills so that Drew doesn't have to try and go back and forth between locations that are hours apart from each other. He's investing in them opportunity to try things and see how things work and see how, hey, go find that missing piece at 15 different places. Because in Belize, you can't just go to your normal espresso parts store. Like you're looking all over Egypt trying to find something that could work. And I think that that's a gift that you're imparting to people based upon their skill set, which I think is so great.
It's true. And I think people, I guess we were just talking about money before the call. Like what are people motivated by? And it's not always money, sometimes it's what purpose is. And these kids who have, ride their bikes or take apart cars or just tinkerers on the side, they'll feel motivated to learn, to grow. And we're going to learn from them too. And when they can take something apart and put it back together and say, hey boss, this is what happened, they feel good showing you information, and you should feel good that you didn't have to go searching for that information.
Yep.
I searched hours through YouTube for information that a kid found out in 10 minutes by just pulling the machine apart.
Yeah, no joke. And I think too, like Drew, even at the ownership level, because I think sometimes we think that's just like leadership down, but I even think it like with Copy de los Mayas for you and me personally, owning this location that you and I fill two very different slots. And even we've raised up David to fill a slot that neither of us necessarily fill either. And that's, like for me, it's the bigger end of business. It's looking at the numbers. It's pulling apart the finance. It's doing all the different moving pieces of money and strategy and where we're going next and how that's all going to work. For you, it's the people and the culture and the hiring and the investing into, like, are they living the ethos? Are they living the handbook? Are they growing in the ways? Because the systems have to be tight, especially to manage it remote. We're talking about a third world country that's a long way away from most of us, and like we need to know that they're going to lock it down. And then for David, it's supplies, like inventory control, and like how is he managing that? And I think if we can all kind of find our lane, and David's not an owner, only Drew and I are, but we're going to empower David in a way where he's going to grow in a skill set. And I know there are times we're pushing David beyond his bounds, but in my mind, it's growing his skill set and is something Drew and I could do, but we're going to be stretched too thin to do. And we're probably not going to do it very well. So let's find somebody else that shows a knack for it and let them develop a system. And I feel like David's taken all the spreadsheets to the umpteenth power. And I know I was a little bit nervous about the spreadsheets because it got more developed than Drew and I were even used to looking at. And I'm like, is this too complex? And then I ran it all by Taryn, and Taryn's like, no, he actually has a good system going right there. I think that just might need some refining and tweaking so it's not so overwhelming, but he's put in the work to make it work the right way. So I think that finding somebody that can grow your talents and your skill set even beyond your ability, I think is important.
Bring it back full circle to Cody. He definitely figured that one out. I mean, I think Ethos, he's been a huge asset. When we go by that shop just about thing near every weekend, it's a fantastic shop. And it was great while he was managing the front end. I mean, I'm kind of biased because it was fun to go in and say hi to your buddy every weekend while he's behind bar.
Sure.
But even with him not behind the bar, managing the sort of front of house, I mean, the place runs fantastic. And I think it sort of speaks more to his talents of the warehouse distribution side of it. Because when he was roasting for us, like we weren't going through a small amount of coffee, every week. Like these guys having to look forward to like months of pre-ordering thousands of pounds of coffee to make sure that 15 to 16 locations don't run out of espresso beans. Like he had a knack for that. So I think on the Ethos side of it, doing the same thing with their bakery supplies, especially in the sense that they're milling and they're wholesaling their flour out to other businesses. Like it fits his wheelhouse so well, and just keeping I've noticed he's really good at keeping an eye on the macro level of where everything is going. Got X amount of product going out this way. I've got, product I'm gonna have to order in 3 months to fill my warehouse for, these giant orders. Like he's done really well with that. I think, yeah, he's been a huge asset to them.
And
It's
I
funny.
think
And
that the
it's Cody
crazy,
from East, it's Cody from Roasters. It's Cody from BlackRock. It's Cody from, his own miscellaneous adventures, and then Cody from Ethos. So he's done all of these things.
the crazy thing to me about it is watching Cody grow. Like when Cody learned all those things that Ben was talking about, what was he, 21? I mean, like he was a kid. Like like what does a 21-year-old kid know about like importing? Like remember Wes sent him down to like South America to check out like bean farms and like to negotiate with like bean vendors that were bringing him back across and like all the, and I'm like, the kid he's a kid. Like what could he possibly know? But how he had this natural knack for being able to learn and grow in those areas that you're talking about. There's this guy who's got this gift that, like you're saying, can see the macro, and it is a gift. Not everybody has that.
And it's especially in our area, that's a high paying gift. Like there's not a lot of master roasters, especially to go to BlackRock, which is again, not a small franchise. Like they've got a large footprint West Coast to go from that to then roasting for, they've got, I don't even know how many hundreds of shops, hundreds of locations.
Yep.
And he's over here roasting for them now. He's just like, I started out as a barista, 7 years ago. It's just, I know to show like once you figure out what your lane is, what even your niche and what you're good at, you can do really well with it if you stick with it. But it takes some experimentation to get there. Like it took a while, but it took a while for all of us. It took us, we always called it the university of roasters because we're all going through university, figuring out what we wanted to do with life. But we found it and we're like, oh, I should make sure I keep doing this because that's what I'm good at.
Yeah. So good. And the skills I feel like that all of us have learned like in those years. I think, I talk to my kids a lot about, right? Cause I'm the old guy and I've got kids that are, in their early 20s, mid 20s now, and like are trying to find their own way. And so a lot of my conversations with my kids are less around like school and all those different pieces. It's more around, but let's identify what kind of things do you like? What kind of things do you enjoy? What kind of things could you see yourself doing? Go try a lot of different things. Go test out some different stuff. Because I think like we've been talking about this whole show, like it's only in the trial and error that you identify, yeah, I really like that. Or dear God, I can't do that. You know what I mean? Like, and trying to identify where those things are at and then leaning into that skill set and finding places that are giving you the opportunity to grow in those skill sets, and sometimes that's through school and sometimes that's not through school. So, don't get hard pressed into a lane. But I think talking a lot to my kids about every experience in life is building on to the next experience. And even just both of your lives and having known you guys this past decade of working together and just seeing like we all have fun stories about Benji and like all the stuff like from when Ben was a skinny little emo kid, like him and Steven playing band and like working his like going through all the phases of Ben Clatterbuck to now Ben Clatterbuck, the married man who's a dad. Like whoever would have thought that that's the Ben Clatterbuck we were going to find, but like you're at that spot. And to think about Drew, the long-haired hippie who like had long hair and like just came in and was barista and then like helping fix machines and then help like becoming a manager of Edison and then moving on to being like the manager of like a Richland and then taking on a regional spot, overseeing 7 stores. And the point of now he's owner of his own coffee shop. I think that's pretty rapid succession for both of you guys of how you guys grew in your roles. And I think that all of it is experience building on experience, each click taking us further and further down. And so wherever you're at today, I think the take home probably of this whole podcast is like, look at the natural road signs. Like, what are the road signs you should be watching for? Like, what are the things that you find that you have a natural knack for? What are the things that you find that you could probably be pretty good at? And then look for opportunities to try those skills. And then don't be heartbroken if that's not what you're good at. Realize that's a learning lesson to actually identify, no, I am good at something though. And if it's not this, then I'm going to find the thing I'm good at, but try a bunch of things. Like, don't be afraid to try. Don't be afraid to fail, because that's how you're going to find the thing that you're good at, and then find your lane and get out of the other lane. Get out of the other lanes, get out of other people's way, because you're actually blocking the lane from somebody else really ascending and growing in that spot. I think it's a really important thing.
I will say that's the beauty of if you're looking to start your own coffee company, if you're looking to start a coffee shop, the beauty of coffee is it's very identifiable because coffee carries the most of the basic pillars of business. You have customer service, you've got inventory management, you've got finance management, and you've got marketing your shop. most people, like you're one or two of those, are gonna be really great at. I'm either really good with people and I suck at everything else, or I'm really good doing the books and I suck with people. It's like one of those two. So if you're looking to open a coffee shop, just like you said, go back in your previous work history, everything you've been doing up to this point. What have you been good at, and what have you hated, and what have you loved, and what have you been good at? And just think, if I open a coffee shop, this is probably what I'm going to carry with me. So I need to find somebody who's good at customer service if I suck at it, or I need to find somebody who's good at the books if I suck at that. I would guess that most people who are getting into coffee as an entrepreneur are probably good at marketing and customer service, because that's why else would you get into be an entrepreneur in a service industry business if you weren't good at that? So you should probably be looking for somebody who's good at books and somebody who's good at inventory management. I would say that's probably a fair guess.
That's good. I like that. And it's just so you guys, full disclosure, in case you don't know this about Aaron Hovidian, I don't know anything about making coffee. On the bar. I asked Drew just this last time, full disclosure. I'm like, hey man, I should probably learn how to make my own drink. Because I feel like I'm living like walking into my own coffee shop that I own and not being able to make my own drink. But like what that means.
Your drink's a small Americano. Like,
yeah, right. It doesn't get any easier. Doesn't get any easier. But I just think that like the point being, I've never done that side of things. But what I did was I found somebody that was a master at the craft, like Drew, where I'm like, hey, you're great with the hands-on. And what I feel like I'm great with is the bigger macro side of business and how we can move and make decisions. And I feel like I've got to see a lot of things. I think that that's been afforded to me by all these coffee clients that we've consulted through the years, that I'm able to make the bigger business decision of coffee. And you're able to help complement me by handling the things boots on the ground. And so therefore we really complement each other. So to Ben's point, like, don't think that you have to be the one that's great at everything. If it was me, what the heck am I doing in coffee? Like I should never be in coffee if it was, I need to know how to do everything A to Z in the entire handbook. But instead it's like, no. I found somebody that complements me well. Drew and my personalities work well. Drew and our skill sets, they counterbalance each other. We talk about it all the time. Bad cop, bad cop. Like a great reference of the other guys. But like, honestly, like our personalities balance each other really well on the times that we both need to counterbalance the other. So I think to land the plane today, find somebody that complements what you do. Realize you don't have to have all of the knowledge base, but find somebody that does, because don't get into it blind, because that's the stupidest thing you could ever do. Like, find somebody that can complement you and then enter into it graciously, realize that we're all learning, we're all growing. And when you identify something isn't your skill set, get out of the way and let somebody else rise, because that's going to lead to a successful business as told by so many businesses across America. So guys, thank you for Coffee Experts Club today. Good one. Always good talking to you, gentlemen. And anybody that is listening today, we'll see you next week on Coffee Experts Club.
Thanks so much for joining us today. For those of you who are looking to become a coffee expert yourself, we offer an incredible, thorough training online for opening your first coffee drive-thru at www.myfirstdrivethru.coffee.
Thinking about my friends in Indie Coffee Coalition, just thinking about the hundreds of thousands of dollars we've saved coffee shop owners just like you, who are not franchisees, who are looking for deals on their fat mix and their energy drinks. Why should the franchises get all the deals, right? Indie Coffee Coalition was built with the idea of saving you, the little guy, tons of cash. So if you're a coffee shop owner, you have 1 to 3 coffee shops, and you're serving blended drinks or energy drinks, we can substantially save you money and keep more money in your pocket. Set up a call. I'd love to talk with you. Indie Coffee Coalition, keeping money in your pocket.